Self-Made is one of the hottest titles currently on Netflix, and it centers on the journey of Madam C.J. Walker, who went from being a clothes washer to a successful owner of hair care products that ended up making her the first self-made female millionaire. We are joined by one of the directors of the Netflix limited series, DeMane Davis. I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby. And the first question I want to ask DeMane is, have you ever directed anything of this sort of scope before? Because, you know, it's so grand. It's a period film. You have all these costumes in there. Had you ever directed anything like that before?
No, I hadn't. This was my first period film. And first of all, thanks so much for having me on. It's the scope of it was massive in terms of the number of extras, in terms of the wardrobe, the hair, and also things you don't think of when you think of a period film, which is we can't just pick up a scene because, you know, maybe that light fixture didn't exist. Maybe this type of, definitely these cars didn't exist. We had to put down mulch or dirt on the street because asphalt didn't exist. So that was all new. And then, of course, the caliber of actors that I had the pleasure and the honor to work with, Oscar winners and Emmy winners and Emmy and Oscar nominated actors. That was also really big for me.
So you mentioned the performers you were working with, and I just have to ask, so what was the atmosphere like on set when you have people like Octavia Spencer, Tiffany Haddish, Blair Underwood, and the great Garrett Morris on the set? I mean, what is it like on that set to have all of them there?
To work with all of them was literally a joy. I think, first of all, Miss Octavia, as I call her, is absolutely phenomenal. One of the hardest working creative people and artists I've ever worked with. I like to get there early on set to walk the set and read the script when no one is there because, of course, when it fills up with actors and equipment and crew, it's impossible to do that. And inevitably, every morning I'd be there by myself. Maybe my AD was with me, and I'd turn, and there she was, just, and no entourage, just totally cool. Like, she's a real live person. So her, and then Blair, such a gentleman. So talented, Garrett and Tiffany, who was absolutely hilarious. So there would be a lot of talk in between takes. And when it wasn't a big emotional scene, a lot of laughter, which was also great and welcome because it was definitely a piece where there's a lot that happens and it gets really intense. So really magical. I was pinching myself quite a bit just being there.
So I'm curious with a production of this scale, what was the most difficult scene to shoot for the 2 episodes that you directed?
Let's see. I think the most difficult scene to shoot, I would say, was probably, I'm going to think there were probably a few. I think that there were ones that were difficult, and then at first, but later it wasn't. We had a rig for Miss Octavia so she could ride a bike. So she's not actually, movie magic spoilers, sorry, she's not actually riding a bike in that scene. So we had a rig made. Initially, that was a little bit like, okay, how are we going to do this? Is this going to work? We have to set it up. And we had a lot of work to do that day. There were all the logistics of, if we put the dolly track down in the front yard, is it going to leave tracks in the lawn? So are we going to have to replace the sod? Do we need other scenes? Do we shoot that there last and then go somewhere else? But they are our grips. Rico did an incredible job making this rig for us. And the best part was Ms. Octavia actually loved it. She had such a great time. I'm going to actually post on my Instagram page a little sort of behind the scenes, and she posted something as well. She loved being on the bike. We could have filmed that all day. And then another scene was our big scene in the Marshall Hotel, where we had, I think I had about 100 extras, and we shot that way into the wee hours. And so everyone was sort of tired. So that was a lot, and just, trying to get people motivated and excited whenever we were able to shoot. So I would say those are big set pieces.
As I mentioned before, you directed the latter 2 episodes of the series. Cassie Lemons, a fantastic director also in her own right, directed the first 2. And I'm curious, did you do any kind of coordination with her to ensure that the tone of the series stayed consistent throughout its run?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was there as a producer for all 4 episodes. So I got there about a month before we began prep. And then I directed the last 2 episodes of the 4-episode series. Casey arrived and she immediately started to work with Kira Kelly, who is our director of photography. Phenomenal. I had worked with Kira before on Queen Sugar and also on The Red Line for CBS and Ava DuVernay. So we had a great shorthand. Casey, as being the pilot director, set the tone and the look of the series. And so they worked together on that. And then I would sort of step in and see how it was going to go. And then we coordinated. And then I was on set for her episodes as much as I could be while doing prep for mine, just to support, to point things out, to make sure that there was definitely some synergy between the whole series and all the episodes.
Where did you shoot this? Was it on a soundstage or were you on location? It's so curious because, I mean, those, the sets especially, you know, are all throughout, especially like in public areas, like that opening in that first episode when you see her first selling in the middle of that, you know, marketplace, are quite extraordinary. Where did you shoot these?
We filmed the whole series in Toronto. We were in different parts of the city. We were in Cambridge, and I'm going to space on all of the other places where we were. We moved quite a bit. Our line producer, Lena Cordina, was absolutely exceptional at helping us. And our locations person, John Cesara, was wonderful. He had read Olivia Bundles' book, which the series was the blueprint for the series, called On Our Own Ground. He had read it from cover to cover before we even began and had photos of all the actual places, and then went out and found us as close as we could get to them. So the sets were really just St. Louis was a set for Sarah Breedlove's before she became Madam C.J. Walker's for the early stuff. What else was a set? There weren't that many sets at the end of the day. I'll think of them later, but we were all over Toronto, and it's an incredible, incredible place to film because of the architecture, and also the crews there are amazing.
To pull this back a bit in scope, you know, we've seen a lot more visibility in recent years about the societal stigma there still is towards the hair of Black men and women. We saw that recently with the case of DeAndre Arnold, who was the high schooler with his dreadlocks. And we also saw that with Hair Love at the Oscars this year. And I'm curious, have you ever faced anything like that in your life? And if not, did you feel a personal connection to Walker's story?
I absolutely felt a personal connection to her story. For me, being a Black woman, having Black hair, I haven't faced anything that DeAndre had faced. I am really excited about the Crown Act and about different states and government officials supporting that, because I think that that's really important. Hair is really personal. I used to get a chemical process in my hair, and now I don't. So this is like my natural hair, but it took me a little while to get there and to, you know, want to do that because it requires a little bit of extra. But I learned about Madam C.J. Walker during Black History Month in elementary school, and I was always fascinated with her story. And secretly, I thought of being a hairdresser for a while. So I flirted with that idea. I worked as a receptionist in a hair salon. I was always really excited to see like a woman come in and, you know, with a scarf or a hat on and kind of shoulders hunched. And then when she left, this transformation, and it was almost like, you know, Beyonce fan is on her and she's walking in slow motion. So I love that. I love that that's what a hairdresser could do. And that's what Madam did, not only for Black women, but she gave them agency. She gave them their own jobs. And then there's this wonderful philanthropic piece that we didn't get to delve into totally in the series, but she did incredible things for the NAACP and other organizations for Black people.
So getting back, how involved was Olivia Bundles in this? Because you mentioned she wrote the book that this was based on, and she's Walker's granddaughter or great-granddaughter? Great-great-granddaughter. How involved was she, besides just being the author of the source material?
Yeah, Miss Bundles was really involved. She was involved with the scripts very early on before I was ever a part of the series. And then she came to set and she visited during my 2 episodes, which is wonderful. I remember so clearly meeting her. She was sitting next to Lena Gradina, our line producer. And I knew she was coming in, but I wasn't sure what day because we're in the middle of filming. And I looked and I'm like, oh, who's that woman sitting next to Lena? God, she's gorgeous. Oh, look at her hair. Oh, that's Miss Bundles. So she was on set all day, and we sort of just worshipped and knelt at her feet. She loved the story. She loved the scripts. She gave us her blessing. All the actors, rallied around her and had discussions with her. She's really the keeper of Madam C.J. Walker's light and that story. So it was great to have her on board as a touchstone. And
since we are an awards site, I'm curious as to what an Emmy, if you were to get nominated for an Emmy for this, what would an Emmy nomination mean to you at this point in your career?
I can't even, I don't even, it would be ridiculous. I mean, I think awards are a part of the business and it's wonderful. And what I would like about any of it is that more people would get to know Madam's story and more people would be curious about what she did and how she did it. I think especially in these times, to see what she achieved back in that time with everything that she had gone through, to be so resilient, to be persistent, to still be creative, to still create, to have a business. I think especially now with what we're going through in our country and in the world, it's a great example. And so that would make me the most excited if there were any nominations involved for any of us.
I'm curious, if you were to be nominated, you'd be nominated for a specific episode. Would you prefer recognition for the 3rd episode or the 4th episode of the series?
I don't have any particular preference. We block shot these episodes. So Casey did 1 and 2 together and I did 3 and 4 together, which it was great for production, streamlines things, makes things work out in terms of locations and permits and stuff. I don't know how the actors do it. I am so respectful and admire actors so much for what they do, but to be able to, okay, now this scene, this happened, and now this scene, he's already gone and that's over, and you're in episode 4, I think is incredible. So to me, it sort of all melds together, which is why when you asked that question before, it's a little bit difficult for me to think of, okay, what episode, what was that in? But it wouldn't really matter to me. But it would be an absolute honor, and I'd probably be on the floor for sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, DeMane. You've been an absolute delight. We wish you all the best this Emmy season. And to our viewers, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to make sure you get all of our latest videos. And don't forget to go to goldderby.com to make your predictions and see if you can outsmart the best prognosticators in Hollywood. Again, thank you so much, DeMane.